Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome to all of you that are just joining for the first time. And I hope you guys that have watched my previous vlogs have been blessed by each and every one of them. And as I said, for those of you just joining for the first time, please do go and check out my channel and don't forget to subscribe as well if you haven't already, so that you can watch all of those videos and be updated on videos that will be uploaded in the future. But yes, I hope you guys will be blessed by this one, and this vlog is going to continue from 2 vlogs ago. So not my post-birthday vlog, which was 2 weeks ago, and not my birthday vlog, but the one before that. So I don't blame you guys if you need to go and watch that one, and I will link it here in this video so that you can go and watch that, so you know where I'm going to continue from with this one. But I hope you guys are ready for this. And now this is my story. Basically, after I finished, so I graduated in July 2018. I think it was the 20th, and Natalie actually graduated the day before. So she graduated on the Thursday, I graduated on the Friday. And unfortunately my graduation day, it did rain, but I'm kind of used to it. I live in England, so I know that it's always raining here. So yeah, it is what it is, but I still enjoyed it. I was just very thankful that God even helped me to achieve that first class. So that was going great. But I don't want to just put you guys under the illusion that everything's good, as I've said in another vlog, because even sometimes when we are having good seasons, I guess, we know that sometimes there's gonna come some rocky seasons too. And we've all probably noticed that, because we may have had a really good year last year, and then this year with the pandemic it's not a very good year. But yes, anyway, so whilst I was actually going through university before I graduated, I remember this kind of like it was yesterday, but my younger sister, so Rianne, who also did a testimony on my channel, she told me that she was starting driving. And at this point everyone else around me had started like driving, so not really my friends in Preston, but like just people around me in general. And a lot of them that were passing their test or going for driving were younger than me. So I was like, this can't be it. I'm like, God, you know that I've always wanted to drive, but now I feel like the drive is in me. So after she called me and then she was like, oh, by the way, I'm taking lessons, I was like, I remember I was like, oh, okay, and then we kind of had a bit more of a conversation. Then I hung up and I was like, nope, God, this can't be the case. Like, I really want to start driving. No offense to my sister, but I want to drive before her. She's younger than me. I want to drive. So I was praying about it, and then eventually I started. And the funny thing is that I actually started, which you guys probably think I'm crazy for this, but I actually started doing driving lessons and all that kind of stuff during the same period that I was actually taking my exams in the May term. So not the January exam that I told you I missed, but in May term I started to take exams again. And it was just, yeah, it was crazy trying to balance that and trying to study for driving. I think I was going probably every week for driving, but then when it got to my actual exams I started to calm down a bit and then picked it back up again. So that was, yeah, the stress of trying to balance the two. So uni exams and then practicing for my actual physical test, so the actual driving, so not my theory, which I had previously already passed. But yeah, so I started doing that and I started driving and stuff, and God really helped me to balance the two, trust me, because I couldn't have done that without God. But on top of that, as you guys already know, I still had my stomach problems, still have them, and it was still appointments, hospital appointments, various other appointments, doctor's appointments, blood tests, and all the lovely things that come with having something wrong or being ill. So I was still having tests and stuff done like that, and then I also ended up going to see a dietitian because they thought, oh, it's something to do with my diet. And I remember, guys, it was, I can't remember exactly when I started it, but I know that it finished in August. So I started to go on something called a low FODMAP diet. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but for me personally, when I heard about it, I did do my research, but when I heard about it, all that I could basically hear the dietitian and the doctor saying is, you're basically not eating anything, you're just going to be drinking water for the next, I think it's 3 months I did, because I tell you, like, you strip so much out of your diet to kind of try and see if something is triggering your stomach problems. So I stripped a lot out, and that, trying to keep to my FODMAP diet, and then also studying for my exams at uni, and then studying for my practical test for driving, it was, guys, it was just messing with my head. And I remember I would get to the point where I felt really low and I felt like everything was getting on top of me, because I don't know if you guys have ever experienced it, but when you're hungry and you're trying to study, it's the worst combination ever. And that's how I felt most of the time. I felt so hungry because it was stripping everything. And then also, like, when I was going to church, like, we usually have like, people would bring in food, and then would sit down at church and have food, and then it got to the point now where I was hardly eating anything at church. I remember I lost a lot of weight in a very short space of time. As I said, I stripped everything, so that in itself was a bit, like, I wasn't unhappy, guys, but I was unhappy with the way that I was losing weight, because I didn't feel good in myself. Like, you know, when you're doing exercise and you start to lose weight, or you start to tone, you're like, ooh, I'm looking nice now, but it wasn't that. Like, I felt so unhealthy. I felt drained all the time, tired all the time. But my church family are amazing, because not all of them fully understood what it meant to be on a low FODMAP diet, but like, I had to cut out stuff like gluten, and then some like vegetables and stuff. Sorry if you can see lines on my head, it's sunny outside and I have my blinds closed. But yeah, so so they were really helpful. So it got to the point that the women that were providing food at church, they started saying, oh, Chelsea can't have this, so they would provide stuff that were gluten-free, dairy-free, lactose-free, all of that. And it was just really sweet, and I really appreciated it so much, and I thank them for that, because when you feel like you can't eat much and then you see people eating around you, it just makes you feel more sad about it. But I was like, I'm gonna try it, because at this point I just wanted to try anything just to stop the pain. So I was trying that. Unfortunately, it didn't help with the pain, which I later explained to my dietitian, because you go through a process of reintroducing food bit by bit and seeing which one triggers something. Yeah, it didn't work for me, but it works for a lot of people, but it just didn't work for me. And then I was also on new medication as well, which was really dragging. So as I said, again, I was trying to do my driving practice and everything, and then because I wasn't feeling my 100%, and as I said, the diet was making me feel really weak. So I was really worried about if I was even going to be able to finish the practical test for driving. But I continued, I kept going on with it, and yeah, so it got to the point that I had my theory test. I took it in my first year of university, so it lasts for 2 years. So I was now in my third year of university. So it got to the point where, like, it was coming to run out, so I was like in a panic. I was like, oh, I need to do it because I don't want to pay for another theory test. But yeah, it didn't happen that way, because I didn't feel like I was ready. And also I had something called camp meeting to go to, and that's actually where I first met Ethan, who also did a testimony on my vlog. And yeah, so it was kind of a weird season, but I was like, okay, once I get back from camp meeting, like, I kind of had the drive. I was spiritually renewed and refreshed from camp meeting. So I went to go and take my theory test again, because at this time it had run out. So I took my theory test again, and I was like, nope, that's it, I'm booking my test now. Because with me, and those of you that know me, that sometimes when things start to get hard, I kind of try to look for a way out. So that's kind of what I started to do. Sorry guys, I'm just moving to the side because that's going in my eye now. But I tried to look for a way out, and I was like, nope, if I book the test, as soon as I finished my theory, passed it, and by God's grace, I did pass my theory. And yeah, I was actually amazed by that, because I actually didn't do that much revision, and I should have. But I thank God for his mercy in that situation. And then, as I said, I was like, straight away, I'm booking my driving test. I can't get a way out of this. I booked it, told my driving instructor, and I think it was within that week. And this was, as I said, I had to keep taking breaks out and stuff. So around this time, it was August now, so after I'd graduated. So that kind of eased down. So I as I said, I went and I did my driving test and I was so nervous, guys. But one thing I've noticed about me is that when I get nervous, that it helps when I speak to people, even at job interviews, I do that too. So I went to the test centre and I was really, really nervous. And then I saw people there, so I wanted to talk to them. But no, I guess not everyone feels comfortable, or it helps them when they're talking to people, but it helps me. So I was talking to my driving instructor, and I kid you not, guys, like God was working all the way through my driving test. Because first of all, I got a really nice examiner. He was really sweet. Then second of all, something that they brought out the year that I actually was taking my test was that you start driving with a sat-nav. But my examiner didn't have a sat-nav, and I was so thankful, because I'm not very good at following sat-navs. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I still can't do that. But I did. So I got, those were the first two things. And then on the drive, like, you have show me, tell me questions. And my ones were really easy. Like, it was like, when it's safe to do so, honk the horn kind of thing. And I was like, God, like, I feel like I'm being tricked here, because this feels so easy. I've seen like the stuff that they can ask you. But I was like, you know what, let me not doubt it. Let me just keep going. And then we pulled in, and then I was kind of like, I think that went well, but I don't know, like, I felt really nervous. And I'm like, there were things that I messed up on, so I was like, God, I don't know if I've passed. But in my head, I was still praying. And then, guys, the excitement that came when he just turned around, like, even as I drove in, like, to park back into the test centre, like, I did not park straight. So I was like, is that another, like, is that going to be a minor or something? Because I did not park straight whatsoever. But the examiner looked at me, he smiled, and then he handed me a paper. And then when I looked down at it and it said that I had passed, oh my gosh, like, first time passing. I've heard about so many stories about people taking their driving test and failing the first time, then maybe passing the second time. And even I've heard a story about someone taking it 7 times and failing 7 times. And when I saw that it said passed, I was like, oh my gosh, this is only because of God, 100% because of God. Because wow, like, I thought that so many things went wrong with that test, but for God to come through and I passed first time, I couldn't believe it. Like, I composed myself while I was there, and then I drove back, or was it my instructor that drove back to my auntie's house at the time? As I said, I was living with her, and I think she wasn't there actually, but it was my mum and my youngest sister, so not the one that's done a testimony, but the one that's younger than her. And I was like to them, I passed. And then they were all like excited, but I was just in so much shock. And I just thank God, because I had been praying so much about this, because as I said, all of the stuff with the diet that I was starting, then trying to balance the university work with driving practice and stuff, and driving can be very tiring. So I just thank God so much for it. And it made me think of this verse from Mark 11 verse 24. And it says, "Therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them and you will have them." And the reason why I really love this verse, and I did pray about it again, is that it reminds us that God is a God that answers prayers. But also, it reminds us that we are to believe that it has already been answered. Because I know there have been times when I pray for something, but there's so much doubt in my mind about it. And then when it doesn't come through, I'm like, but why hasn't it? Sometimes God is very gracious and he still allows it to come to pass. But sometimes it doesn't come when I expect it or the way I expect it. And then I kind of get confused. I'm like, God, why didn't you answer that prayer? It wasn't a bad prayer, whatever. But it actually expresses our faith when we believe, because it helps us to hope in the fact that God can answer that prayer, and that he will answer that prayer. But when we don't believe, we're kind of doubting God. And I'm not saying, as I'm saying, and as I always say, I do not do this perfectly. But at that time, from seeing and looking back at God allowing me to, because remember I said that I passed my driving test in August, from God getting me through and passing my exams and getting me a first class in my degree, at this point when I was praying for my driving, it's not that I thought that I was going to be the one that helped me to pass. I was going to do amazingly on the test, but I had faith and believed that God was going to let me pass my driving test that first time. And when I tell you how ecstatic I was when I found out that I passed my driving test, I couldn't help but just give all praise to God, because I believed that God could do it. I was like, no, I'm not too sure about myself, like if I'm going to be perfect on the test, but I believed that God could do it. And God came through 110%. Like, I believed that he would help me to pass, and then I said, I don't know, maybe, as I said, there was still a bit of doubt in my mind, because I was like, maybe, I believe that he's going to help me pass, but maybe it wouldn't be the first time. But when I passed the first time, I was like, wow, God, you are absolutely amazing, and I thank you for that. And I just want to encourage you guys with this verse, that if you ask for something, if you're asking God for something, believe that he's going to do it. Because the one thing that God is a God of answering prayers. And as I've said before many times in my vlogs, that God doesn't always answer the way that we expect him to answer. But one thing that he does do is that he always answers. And it just exercises our faith when we believe that he has. And as I was thinking about this verse, and God just gave that to me now, I think about the story of Hannah. If you haven't read it, please go and read it. It is a very good story. And it talks about how that she was praying for a child. She couldn't have children. She was praying for a child. She believed that what God had promised, that she was going to have a child. And because of her belief, she went forward with it. She moved. And that's the thing that I want to encourage you guys with. You may be praying about something, but then you sit still. You act as if God hasn't answered it. But we have to go forward with faith. Like I've said in one of my other vlogs, we walk by faith and not by sight. We have to go forward with faith and trust that God is going to answer that prayer, and that we act according to that prayer being answered. So for me, I prayed that I was going to pass my driving test. So I worked hard at making sure that I was concentrating. I just trusted God. But in trusting God, you also have to know that you have to take one step forward. And even if the answer to your prayer is a no, you stepping forward, God is not going to let you go down until you go into a pit, but he will stop you. But that being said, we also have to be in communication with God so that we hear when he's stopping us. So I just encourage you guys that whatever you are praying about, that you keep praying about it first of all, but that you believe it. And by believing it, that you believe that he answers it. And because you believe that you move. You do not stay still and just be like, okay, I think that God's going to answer it. No, believe that he's going to answer it. And as it says in verse 24, as I've just read, that when you believe that you receive, you will have it. And as I said, it might not be the way that you expect it, but God is going to come through. But just believe that you are going to receive it and watch him work. And when you see the way that he works, like, he does amazing things. He really does. I always say this, guys, but that's because I believe it and I know it. Being through all of the things that I have been through, I believe it 100% that he does amazing things. And if he does it for me, he will do it for you. So just pray and believe that you have already received it and move like you have. So I hope you guys were encouraged by this and encouraged to go boldly towards the throne of grace, God's throne, and to ask anything and believe that you will receive it. But also, I want to also remind you that we are also to allow God's will to be done in those prayers too. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And please join me for my next vlog. And also, if you haven't watched any of my other vlogs, please do go and check them out on my YouTube page. Go and check out my Instagram as well, which will be linked in the description box below, as well as my email address if you want to get in touch with me on a more personal level, I guess, and with any prayer requests. please do send your prayer requests. I'm always ready and willing to pray and to intercede on your behalf, because I know prayer is powerful. But yes, leave you with this. When you pray for something, believe that you have already received it and watch God work. I will see you for the next vlog. Bye guys.